Welcome to MGoRadio 17.82. We are live at the Post Store on Main Street.
That's where we are. 1782.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually didn't even remember which number were we on because we didn't do one last week.
That's why I did this.
So we're off now.
Yes, we recorded it and no one listened to it because it wasn't good enough.
That's kind of like the first quarter of our.
Speaking of,
I'm getting better at that. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for the segue. Michigan has defeated Northwestern. We reviewed the film. Well, I reviewed the film. You were watching Maryland film. And we have some takes.
Yeah, I have questions.
You have questions?
I have questions.
Okay.
All right. I gave Shade Patterson a star. Well, I kept a star on him for. Is that still deserved after this week?
Like I thought he had not his best game, but it wasn't a bad game. And, he's... when the guy is like at 68% on the downfield success metric, and I'm like, that was not his best. It's pretty good.
Yeah, my concern was up until the fourth quarter, it felt like he didn't really know what he was looking at.
Yeah.
And my greater concern is that Northwestern's defense is a lot like someone else's defense that we're going to face.
Well, so he did kind of settle in late. Like there was that out he hit to Gentry on the last drive, 15-yard out, and he's coming off a read and coming to Gentry, and that gets out fast, and that's a 15-yard completion. And I just felt like that was what we were wanting to see for much of the game. And we didn't get to see that, and there were a couple of reasons for that. One, Northwestern was dropping 7 or 8 guys.
They were very... Mike Hankwitz seems to still know Michigan's playbook, even though he hasn't been here for 40, 50 years.
Well, in general, they were content just to kind of drop into zones and then make Patterson hit small windows, and I don't think he was entirely comfortable with that because he hadn't really seen it this year at all. And the disappointment there for me is more about why were those windows so consistently small. It's because Michigan didn't really have a shotgun play action game that convinced anybody.
Right, and that goes back to never running the ball with the quarterback.
Well, never running the ball with the quarterback, and even when they are kind of making the token play action, it is very token.
Yeah.
So you see that kind of brief gesture towards the running back, and nobody's really buying that, especially when it's paired with people kind of pass blocking.
Yeah, there are teams that as soon as the quarterback even puts the ball out, you'll get a step from the linebackers, and then sometimes that's all you need. But Northwestern wasn't even doing that. It was.
No, they seem to have a very good read on whether Michigan was running or passing the whole game.
So much so that I wonder if they had some signs down or something.
I don't know, but that did cross my mind.
That is pretty common in football.
It crossed my mind. This was spooky and weird, and why don't these guys run up at the line of scrimmage except on jet sweep stuff, which they did get twice. So. They did hit a couple of corner outs with the tight ends where a Northwestern safety who was supposed to be checking a ball about 20 yards downfield crossed the line of scrimmage.
Right.
So there were a couple things here and there, but overall it was a little bit of a disappointment tactically.
Yeah.
And the most disappointing thing tactically were those incidents where Northwestern has their corners at 8 yards.
Yeah,
they have their safeties,
which they always do. They play their cornerbacks off quite often.
Well, there's off, and then there's that.
Yeah,
there's off, and then there's I have no safety help.
Right.
I have to prevent a touchdown if the ball comes out to me.
Right.
So there were, I would say, a half dozen snaps where Northwestern had guys at 6 and 8 yards as safeties, and they were playing their cornerbacks in the parking lot.
And Michigan has an answer for that because Rudock used to throw those smoke routes all the time.
Right, and even if you're not gonna, drop back, throw a post, which I think you probably should, you can't just let people line up like that and run into it. So you're looking at legitimate 8.5, 9-man fronts, and that's, they're just overloading everything, and you see they get to cover a gap on the backside with a safety, and then everybody else can just slant the hell out of it to the play side, and it's it's got to be in the offense.
Right.
And they're just not taking it out. And the thing is, this isn't Michigan's up 2 touchdowns in the third quarter.
No, they got down by 17, and they
Right.
were in comeback mode, so everything in the playbook is presumably on the table.
Right, and so like where was the little tweak there?
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's not something that Shea hasn't run before. At Ole Miss, they used to run smoke routes, too. So
well, and they run RPOs and stuff like that. And to me, if you really want to screw around with the linebacker core like Northwestern's, you got to show run blocking.
yeah.
And if Shea was able to throw RPOs against, well, not Alabama, if he was able to throw RPOs in the SEC, then I think that's something he's probably going to be capable of at Michigan. And I want to make a distinction here between RPOs and
RSOs?
run screen options.
Yeah.
Well, so
I mean, I use those just because otherwise the passing stats don't seem to make sense afterwards, and you go, oh, well, these were running plays. Then the count as running plays, but you can say, look, that's what that was.
well, I'd like to draw a distinction between that and a pre-snap read and a post-snap read.
Well, yeah.
So those screens that you throw out there are always, you're not like snapping the ball and then seeing what somebody does and then deciding.
You
where
can
you're going.
usually tell because they'll hold the ball in the basket of the running back until it's time to actually go.
Right. So like Michigan is doing pre-snap reads and occasionally deciding to go to a screen. They're not doing the thing that is the term of art that I believe RPO actually means.
Yeah.
Where you hold the ball in the mesh point with the running back, and if the linebacker flies up, well, then you pop him over the top with Zach Gentry.
Right. And I mean, there's a lot of pre-snap read too, where like you can look pre-snap and decide, well, just from the look,
Right, but that's-
they're in cover one. There's no way that the RPO is going to matter this time.
Those are different skills.
Yeah.
So a pre-snap read is like I can see the defense and I have 5 seconds to determine what I want to do in my large playbook of things I want to do. A post-snap read is you're just looking at this guy and you're going to make a split-second
Right.
flash decision. And some people have it and some don't. You know, we've seen Shea Patterson do it, just not at Michigan. And that kind of got frustrating to me because of what we mentioned before, where the linebackers seemingly always knew what was coming.
Yeah. And I take if stealing plays would actually be a wonderful thing, just because it's not something that's necessarily copyable or something that can be fixed. If that is something that Michigan is tipping just by the way that like they line up and okay, there's True Wilson, I guess it's a pass now, or there's the freshman receivers, I guess it's a run play now. Like those kinds of things, I think teams have downloaded about Michigan because we've downloaded them.
Yeah, like when Ronnie Bell's on the field and
Right.
Oliver Martin's on the field and they get 0 targets in a game, like that's not hard to pick up on. That's something Lloyd Carr used to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, whenever something reminds me of Lloyd Carr in like sort of an offensive schematic way, doesn't make me happy. He was a good coach,
Right.
but he was also a coach of the 80s and 90s, and there's no longer
the
the
one
80s and
exception
90s.
being when a cornerback comes on as a wide receiver, because there's those bring up Woodson.
Sure.
You never feel like a little bit of Woodson when Ambry Thomas comes out there and is just faster than everybody else on the field?
So, I mean, the complaints that were lodged in that UFR were, I think they're real, but I don't want to overstate them. So it's not, this wasn't like a Al Borges gets less than 200 yards in a game with Denard Robinson event.
Yeah.
You know, they got up to 370 yards against a pretty decent defense. I didn't necessarily like the way that played out. So when your offense is like, okay, this guy's going to scramble for first downs, like that's always kind of like sketchy, a little tentative, and so not something you can really build
They were
up.
burning first downs by they were getting into like a lot of 2nd and 9s, and they were getting into a lot of 3rd and 1s or 3rd and 3s.
Well, and then the 2 3rd and short issues
Yeah.
were well, one of them on replay. It's just like, you know, Nico Collins has a first down. If he just like you don't even have to juke. You just go and you run directly at the cornerback. You're gonna fall forward because you're 20 pounds, 30
It
pounds
was a
heavier than him.
very weird game for Nico Collins because he suddenly turned into Eddie McDoom, and we'd seen none of that before.
I'm not sure what you mean by
He
that.
thinks that he's Eddie McDoom. He thinks that he can just jump and dodge around
Yeah.
people when he is a 6'4", 6'5" receiver who is bigger than like Montre Hardage.
Yeah.
And you can just run through that guy. You'd probably get the first down, and that happened
Certainly get the first
several
down.
times. And there was another time in the end zone where the ball is to him, and he kind of like pulls his arms back.
Yeah, he short-armed it.
Yeah, and so we were right in that end zone, And for a second, I thought it was going to Peoples-Jones behind him. So I'm guessing that's what he thought, too.
I don't...
Because, like, my angle was from deep, like, right behind Peoples-Jones.
That, like, zinged...
But, like, when I watched it on replay, I was like, oh, my God, why didn't you catch that? But I could see what he was thinking live. It was the rewatch where I was like, what are you thinking?
No, I don't think that a ball that close to your head is something that you could ever pass up on.
Yeah.
Like
you shouldn't. You should not pass that up. But I'm telling you, I could see. I'm guessing that was what was in his head of all the options.
I think he didn't want to get crushed by the safety. I don't want to say that, but that's what it looked like to me.
We've had issues with that in the past.
That's what that looked like to me.
Yeah. Well, Nico is going to have some coaching, and hopefully we won't see any of that again.
I think the stuff where he's going and trying to juke defensive backs will be gone.
Yes,
because it's not that hard to just be like, "Hey, Nico, go straight upfield."
Now that I didn't get to read your preview, but I'm guessing one of them was Nico catches the ball and just runs straight forward.
I didn't mention that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the thing is, like, Michigan, I think, screwed up a screen to Collins in this game, and he gets hit like a yard downfield, and it's still a 7-yard gain. So, like, I understand why they have him as the guy catching those balls, because it's really hard to get him down because he's so much bigger than everybody else out there.
Right.
But he's just got to know what his strengths are and use them.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why those safeties formations with the cornerbacks in the parking lot were so frustrating. Because how hard is it for Nico Collins to go get 8 yards in that situation?
The other thing I noticed, too, is they kept the running back in and they kept the tight ends in. Especially at the beginning, they were just chipping with the tight ends. And I think the first drive, it was like, okay, we can't do this. These guys are going to just have to survive. And they more or less did.
Yeah, so, I mean, this was a good move by Hankowitz, who's coming into this game, and he knows what Michigan is thinking about their tackles. So,
right.
Patterson's first drop back, they go max protect, and Northwestern rushes 3.
So and there's nobody in the pattern.
All 3 guys who are going downfield are, like, bracketed.
Right.
So Patterson can't find anything, obviously, and then he starts moving around and all that stuff. And I kind of felt like Patterson wasn't expecting to have that much time. So fairly frequently, he'd be just about to have a guy break open for him, and he'd take off. And it's understandable, right? Because you played the Notre Dame game, that probably hurt, right?
Yes.
And you can't see what's happening with the gas behind you. That's
right.
That's on your blind side.
Right.
It doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good to be sitting there in the pocket and, like, the gas is out there.
Yes, and you could tell that he would drift that way even when he had a happy pocket. It's just, let's just give myself a couple more inches.
So Northwestern was able to get good zone drops from the linebackers, where they would get down to like 10 yards downfield on the sticks. And he just needed that extra like half second so that his receivers could clear that linebacker level, and he didn't trust it.
Yeah.
So hopefully John Runyon is now John Runyon, senior. Now that would be good. And
boy, John, you've gained 300. You've gained 100 pounds. You're 5 inches taller, and you look a lot older.
Just put him in there, see if anyone notices.
You're John Runyon. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You look a lot like your father. Well,
Yeah. That's my mom's been saying that my whole life. Yep.
I feel like, given all that, Patterson's struggling. The tactical approach is not great. Even though Karan Higdon averages under 4 yards a carry in this game, I'm pretty much fine with the run game. Like, I thought the blocking was solid. I didn't think it was great, but I thought Ruiz had a really good day. I thought Onwenu had a really good day. And just sometimes against these kind of defenses that have you downloaded, you need to break a big one. And Michigan had a 30-yarder, but that was it. So it wasn't really
a 22-yarder in a crunch time at a key moment. Yeah.
That one didn't count. And
I loved how you guys handled it on me. TK this morning, or yesterday, by the way.
What I don't even remember. I just remember yelling about my car.
Yeah, no, I think everyone just kind of agreed to say, oh, well, that was just, holding gets called all the time. You can never, 50-50 call. Everyone just kind of treated it like a regular holding call. It was beautiful.
Anyway.
Anyway.
On the defensive side of the ball, I need to actually issue an apology to Mike Duwumfor.
Yeah?
Because I dinged him for the second Northwestern touchdown, and that was actually Lawrence Marshall.
Oh.
So, I told Sam that, and Sam was like, I did the same thing. So he was in on the previous play, and then they swapped him out. So he actually was like a +4 instead of like a +2 because I was a -2 for getting exploded. And that does change the tenor of his day a little bit. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he was active.
It's still his best day by far in a Michigan
he
uniform.
chipped in on 3 sacks, and he didn't get...
Created one all by himself.
Yeah, and he didn't do great on the ground, even without the mistake I made. He's still a guy who gets vertical on every snap, kind of like early Mo Hurst, which is not the comparison I really want to be making right now, but it is exactly what Mo Hurst used to do. But if he's going to be this active in the passing game, there will continue to be snaps for him. Uche had a fair amount of impact in a limited number of snaps as well.
And a meme.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. Of course our readers would find North Korean pop culture.
There's no North Korean pop culture.
There is. It's called Juke. Josh Uche is North Korean pop culture. That's all there is to it.
I can't endorse that point of view. And then, I mean, obviously Chase Winovich was the player of the game. I mean, he was everywhere. And, the most encouraging thing to me is that he was able to take the Northwestern left tackle and just grip and rip past him, where you do the push-pull move.
Yep.
And he did that so violently a couple of times that it looked like he was using the momentum he was getting from the rip to get to the running back in a flash. It's physics, man. It's quite a powerful thing. But that was the best game a Michigan defender's had all year. That's like an All-American level game.
He is. He was, first of all, got to see him versus the Gaz, one than the other, and
Right.
Winovich is definitely better than the Gaz.
I'd say that's fair, yeah.
And had a harder, and is going up against harder competition. If you look at, their left tackle was not a terrible player up till now.
Well, I didn't think he was that good.
You're seeing left tackles against Chase Winovich.
I watched him.
You're going to see NFL tackles look like that next year too.
I don't know. I'm not sure Northwestern's left tackle is appreciably better.
I think Chase Winovich is All-American, and it's getting to the point where it's boring to even talk about all the great things he's doing out there because that's what he is. I think he should be playing himself into the first round right now. I don't know what
so,
NFL people are.
And one thing that kind of came up in the aftermath of the game is people were a little disappointed in Devin Bush because he didn't do like 65 crazy things. And I went back and I chart the game. I grade the game.
Right.
He's a +5, which I don't even know if people have a sense of what that means at the linebacker position. Where for years
that's like a +15 for defensive linemen, right?
If someone got up to like 0, I was like, that was a pretty good game. Linebacker is hard.
Right.
I support this person and his 0. That was fine. And now Bush has an off game and he's covering the running back for large portions of the game.
Yeah.
And not getting targeted, and he's still chipping in a +5. He's a pretty good linebacker.
I thought that Gill got a little picked on early on.
He did.
And I think after that they might have stopped using Bush as the blitzer versus, or guy around the line of scrimmage and kind of switched that out.
Well, the takeaway at weak side linebacker is I think it's just time for full-time Josh Ross because Gill's out there on the first Northwestern drive and they have a 3rd and 4. And
the screen that went.
It's not even a screen. He just gets hit on a flare out to the running back.
Right.
And that's 9 yards. And he didn't get a rub. And he's just. It's like I don't think that's ever going to happen to Devin Bush, and that's what the coaching staff thought too. And then on the screen, he changes his mind halfway through the play. And if he was doing one thing, that's fine. If he's doing the other thing, that's also fine. But when you change your mind halfway through the play, then Cannell's watching what's happening in front of you, and he's made a decision.
Yeah.
And you just made his decision wrong.
Right.
So, not a great cameo appearance for him, and it wasn't like a 2-to-1 snap ratio advantage for Josh Ross again. I kind of think that this competition should be complete.
Yep, and good run, good good to have him around too. But I think Josh Ross' era should be it now.
I should mention that both safeties kind of came out mildly negative in my grading. They were like -3, -4.
It was all paper cuts though, right?
Well, they
I didn't notice anything huge.
Metellus got hit on a 15-yard out where it wasn't a very good throw, and he still couldn't get a play on the ball. So that's like a -2 to me.
Right.
But that is the point I was going to make. Is other than that screen, Northwestern's long play all day was 15 yards.
Yeah.
So, and the coverage metric in this game was +12. So that's a decent day from them. It wasn't a great day. They didn't make any plays, and they got hit a little bit. But in general, their slant coverage was much improved.
Yeah, that is one thing I wanted to bring up because I was counting the slants, or like the times when I thought the slant read was the first read, and I think we got I think there were 14 of them that I, give or take a few.
Right.
It's hard to tell what the first read is all the time, but people were complaining about it afterwards but they saw so many, and I thought they covered them really well, and they had a couple different ways of dealing with it. First, they just tried with their regular cover one, and I thought, they were hitting tiny targets, which.
Yeah, I mean, Thorsten had a couple of completions where. There are completions where I'll give the coverage a +0.5 point because it was such a small window.
Yeah, if Flynn Nagel's catching the ball 2 inches off the ground, yeah.
And so I had them for 7 slants that they actually threw. I think Brown had different numbers. He had 9, but and they had 5.8 yards an attempt there.
Okay.
So, that's not it's not as much of a concern as the slot fades were last year, and those are completely gone because of the way Michigan's approaching it.
Right,
so,
and if that opens up slants once in a while,
who cares?
Right, I'll take it.
All right, we're going to take a break, come back with a special guest. Ooh.
Let me just tell you a couple things to keep in your mind while you're out there. When we take the field, we're going to win. We've got big goals. We've got big ideas. We've got to win this game, and there is no game on the remainder of our schedule more important than the one you're going down to the tunnel to play today. Now let's go. Let's go.
Underground Printing is proud to present the Bow Store. Visit us at our new location at 333 South Main or online at www.bow.team.
Want the perfect game day outfit? Underground Printing has unique, great-fitting apparel and officially licensed apparel from legendary Michigan names like Woodson, Howard, Schembeckler, Ufer, and more. UGP also specializes in custom-printed apparel and promotional items for groups, events, and businesses. Whether you need 1 shirt as a gift or 1,000 shirts for a charity walk, Underground can customize almost anything for groups large or small. To learn more, visit Underground Printing at one of our 3 convenient locations around Ann Arbor or online at undergroundshirts.com.
If you find yourself on the wrong side of the law in Ann Arbor or around Metro Detroit, you want a Michigan man in the huddle. Call former prosecutor and now criminal defense attorney Jonathan Paul at 248-924-9458 or visit his website, michiganlawgrad.com.
I grew up in a small town of Hazlitt, Michigan, and I witnessed a lot of great people making a lot of poor financial decisions. And I thought to myself, I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to have my retirement at risk. Over the last 17 years, my team has developed and refined our process, which helps people understand what's important to them and what they value most. And because people don't have pensions anymore, we're adding in multiple income streams during retirement. At Peak Wealth Management, our goal is to build long-lasting relationships, and we do that by building trust, by showing our integrity, and letting them know how much we care. And that's one of the most important things we do here at Peak, is understand your goals and help you get there.
If you need a place to stay in Ann Arbor and don't want to be stuck out by I-94, there's a new hotel downtown, and the owners, who should be well known to the Michigan community, have asked our help to get the word out. The Martin family, yes, that Martin family, recently opened the Residence Inn Ann Arbor downtown, just a block from Main Street and a short walk to Michigan Stadium. They're competitively priced and offer a free hot breakfast, free Wi-Fi, fully equipped kitchen in every suite, and an indoor pool. That's the Residence Inn Ann Arbor downtown.
Back is
Welcome back to MGoRadio 4.6, we're going to call 6, live at the Bow Store on Main Street. We have our special guest here. We have two special guests. One is Dennis from the OC. How you doing, Dennis?
I'm doing very well, Brian. It's great to see you. God bless your cotton-picking, maize and blue Michigan heart, sir.
Thank you. We also have Dan Chase, a director who has currently completed a film, and we're going to let Dennis lead us into this one.
Oh, Brian and Seth, here we are, the 123rd Michigan Homecoming Eve. And is anything more appropriate than this? Having the great Dan Chase here, the director of football's Valhalla, the Bob Ufer story. I can hardly wait. You can hardly wait. We're all seeing those maize and blue spots before our eyes. We've got those maize and blue goosebumps going all over. And here it is, the great Dan Chase. Dan, take it away from Michigan.
Wow. Thank you, Dennis. Have you been privy to Dennis's... Very.
I have. I witnessed it once at the Forest Hills Cemetery during the pre-Ohio State walk, and so he regaled me in the night sky, and that was scary then, and it's scary now.
So you had the Billy Taylor film,
yeah,
and now you're back with a Ufer film, and this one's doing well. You have a showing tonight at the Michigan Theater that apparently you can't get tickets to.
It looks like it's going to sell out, which is really hard to say, unbelievable to say. If you ever walk into the Michigan Theater when it's empty, you sit there and go, well, we'll never fill this up.
Right.
And I think it has nothing to do with me or my work or my career. It's all about Bob Ufer and the love that still exists for this guy. This is why you've got impressionists that are still doing Bob Ufer, devotees. There's still a lot of love for Bob Ufer.
So how did you get started on the project?
Well, I'm an Ann Arbor kid, or was an Ann Arbor kid, grew up here. My mother was the one who first introduced me to Bob Ufer. She was listening to it on the radio as she'd go around the house doing housework, and I thought it was strange that my mom would be listening to football games, but she was interested in the entertainment factor. And so he was a novel kind of entertainer for her. And that got us just aware of him. And then, of course, when you start caring about Michigan football in the 1967, which is when we moved here, 68 is when we probably started listening to Bob Ufer.
So, I mean, how did you get started with this project, though?
Well, I think Billy Taylor was someone who came to my elementary school, but Bob Ufer was someone that we listened to, for many years, and then I think the pivotal memory for me was being an undergrad here in 81, and I just happened to go to the stadium by myself one time that fall when Bob made his last appearance at the Iowa game, and it was very emotional. I wasn't expecting it. I don't think I was really cognizant of his illness, but to be there and to be aware that this was really farewell from this guy that a lot of people really loved was emotional for me, and people that I interviewed in the film talk about it. Rick Leach, most notably in the film, speaks about that moment very beautifully.
So, what's your favorite part of this? This probably had a lot of archival research and stuff. What is?
It did, and it's kind of a bottomless pit. I mean, you can keep going. There's almost never enough photographs, and I'd like to add more photos and video to the film, which I'm going to try to do for the DVD, for the Blu-ray. But one of the greatest finds that we had came through an intern who was working for me, and he found track footage of Bob Ufer running at Madison Square Garden in 1942. And I was kind of surprised that the Bentley didn't have anything like that, but it was my fantasy that we would find some footage of Ufer running. And the footage really from that time period is mostly from the newsreels, film newsreels, which they would show in the theaters in those days. And so it's quite possible that this piece of newsreel footage of Bob Ufer running in Madison Square Garden might have been played at the Michigan Theater as a newsreel clip from back in the day. I can only speculate, but it's Bob Ufer running in a 600. It's called the KC 600 was the actual race, and it was shot with two cameras, and it's in pristine condition. There's no sound, but there's two cameras shooting Bob Ufer running the entire race. And so, we've talked about maybe adding that as a special feature on the Blu-ray, where we chop it up in the film and use parts of it in different places. We don't show the whole race in its entirety, but I think as a special feature, people would love to just see Bob Ufer running this whole race. And there's a couple of elements to the race which are fun, fun to see. And you go, God, that's really the same guy that was the broadcaster. He was quite a talented athlete.
I mean, he's just kind of a Michigan legend because of his ability to communicate emotion. I know that we had a podcast a little bit earlier I think it was last year,
yeah,
where I was just kind of in the car and I put on like the Bob Ufer on air CD, and then there's just this story that Bo's telling about how he
with the 76 kid.
Well, he would just go and like tell him like the most terrible things to make him like upset. Like it was like Leach is out this game. Like no. And it just he's a very raw, emotional person, and he was really on the forefront of that in terms of broadcasting in general.
Yeah, and I mean, you would know about this probably better than most people, but I do have a theory about that growing up listening to Bob Ufer and his emotional extremes, as a young fan growing up, you sort of get tied up in that extreme as well. So, when we're doing really, really great, it's the highlight, it's a peak, it's the peak moment, and when we lose it, it's terrible. And I'm not sure that Michigan fans, myself included, are particularly good losers. Bob was certainly, suffered, and I think, a lot of different people talk about it in the film. I think Jim Harbaugh spoke pretty beautifully about it, about the way the fans suffered with Bob Ufer, and that's why we related to him, is that he was expressing what we were feeling.
Do you have another Michigan project on the horizon here? Or is it
nothing specific. I mean, I don't know what that would be. Partly it would make, in some ways it would make, people have asked me that, and in some ways it would make sense because I've been in this space now for 2 films.
Yeah.
And so you kind of go, well, gosh, you've got some of the infrastructure built and maybe the donors and the supporters and the fans that, would like to see it. On the other hand, as a career, I'm also looking at trying to take a step, maybe broadening the scope of what I'm doing, or something that may reach a broader audience. Michigan audience is a big audience, but so the question of what's next, I don't really know. I want to get through this one and then, sort of get my wagons in a circle and go, what is next? But there's no specific other Michigan project. In approaching this one, to tell Bob Ufer's story, you can't really tell it without touching on certain great characters like a Don Canham,
right,
or a Bo Schembechler, both of whom in their own right you could do a documentary about, or Fielding Yost if you wanted to do that, or every great quarterback that ever played it. I mean, there's a million stories that you could tell around Michigan football, and there's such, as you well know, there's a huge fan base of people that love this topic, and you could, there's a number of ways you could go with that, but I don't have any specific plans now.
You got 2. You got to make it a trilogy.
What is this, Lord of the Rings?
That's how they do it. That's what they do.
Lord of the Rings is more than 3, right?
It was 3.
It is 3.
The last one felt.
And then
like
they
4.
did The Hobbit too.
That's not.
And they made
does not
did they make
exist.
2 Hobbits.
That's a terrible analogy. Let's not do that. Let's not go there. Yeah, is Woody Hayes the Hobbit? No, I'm not gonna do that.
Well, you've got Billy Taylor's touchdown. You got the guy who called Billy Taylor's touchdown. So I mean, you can go back to 71 and find like the stadium, the football. Like
yeah, you got to interview the football.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a, it's a privilege, and it's been an eye opener to be in this world that you guys are in, much deeper than I am. I mean, in terms of knowledge of Michigan history, knowledge of the current team. I'm a beginner. My focus has been pretty narrow in these 2 cases, but it's humbling to try and make content for an audience like this that cares so much and knows so much about these traditions. And I'm giving it my best shot, but I'm a novice compared to the fans that are out there loving on Michigan.
And we're novices too to hear them tell it sometimes.
Yeah.
So you might be able to get tickets for the showing tonight.
Yeah, it's insane. There is a limited. I frankly don't even know if there are tickets. The pre-sale on this has accelerated over the last couple of days, and as crazy as it sounds to say, the Michigan Theater is close to being sold out. I don't know that there will be walk-up tickets available. There may be a handful. If listeners are local and are thinking about going, the best advice would be to go online at the Michigan Theater, try to purchase them online and print them out at home. I would not expect to get in walking up at the theater.
And you did mention a DVD is going to be coming out.
Yeah, thanks. On December 10th is the date that we've set to release a Blu-ray of this film. And it'll be pretty much this film, although I gave it a little bit of padding so that I could go back in and try to make some last-minute tweaks and improvements and adjustments. There's little things I want to do.
Okay.
You can always add more photos to a documentary. They are voracious for photos and video footage. So where I can add to the film and improve it, clean it up a little bit, there's still that possibility before December 10th, and then we'll release that. Beyond that, it's not clear whether there would be any interest in TV. I was lucky with the Billy Taylor film in that the Big Ten Network wanted to show that, and they did show it over an 18-month period. And I don't know if they'll have interest in this film or not.
I mean, there's always a summer, so I think you're probably going to be in luck in that department. And we'll mention on the blog when the DVD is available.
Thank you.
Much better gift than a hat this year.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and we'll keep you on the roster for a third one.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate that. I appreciate your encouragement. I hope that you feel that way after you see the film.
Yeah, Dan Chase, everybody. We
Thank you
got to
very
take a
much.
break, come back. We're going to talk some Maryland football.
Thanks so much.
We have a lot in common. You rode the bus to Bursley, so did Larry Page, and so did I. And we all love MGoBlog. I'm Nick Hopwood, your MGo financial coach. My entire family went to Michigan State, but I was the smart one, finding my way to Ann Arbor to study econ. I've been a financial planner for 17 years, earning the designation Certified Financial Planner, and founded Peak Wealth Management in Plymouth. Oh, you're pretty smart, and you probably have a sweet retirement spreadsheet already. My job is to make sure. As a financial coach, I make sure you're on track, or if you're not on track, I tell you exactly what you're going to need to do. And if you listen, I'll be able to tell you how your future should look, just like the knowledge. And I have cool charts and graphs to tell the story, sort of like the mathlete. To learn more or schedule time to chat, check out peakwm.com/mgoblog.
The places you'll go may seem far from Ann Arbor. From San Francisco to St. Louis to Shanghai. But as members of the Alumni Association, we're never far. Because Michigan is more than a place. It's a mindset that connects us. For those who leave Michigan, but for whom Michigan never leaves, this is where you belong. The Alumni Association of the University of Michigan. Join today at umalumni.com.
If you're looking for a mortgage and you're a Michigan fan, there's only one place to go: Homeshore Lending. Fair and honest, Homeshore Lending is local, efficient, and small enough that you'll work directly with the owner, Matt Demarest. Matt bleeds maize and blue, and so does his family.
Hi, this is Matt Demarest, owner of Homeshore Lending. We're a local mortgage company based here in Ann Arbor on State Street, but we serve the entire state of Michigan, helping people buy or refinance their homes. We care about doing things the right way and treating people the right way, but we also care deeply about the Wolverines, and I wanted to introduce you to a couple of the biggest Michigan fans I know.
Hi, I'm Cooper. I'm 10. I'm Colby, and I'm 8.
Who's the best team in the whole country?
Michigan! Go Blue!
Homeshore Lending at 2723 South State Street in Ann Arbor. For more info, go to homeshorelending.com. That's HOMESURELENDING.com. Or call Matt at 734-531-9950. Homeshore Lending. NMLS number 1161358. Equal housing lender.
It's painless, it's online, it's group ordering made easy for your next custom printed apparel order. Pogo from Underground Printing takes the aggravation out of custom printing for a group. Whether you're selling shirts for a fundraiser, organizing a large event, or trying to collect sizes and payment for a family reunion, Underground Printing is here to help. Save time and hassle every step of the way with our easy-to-use site. No more guessing what to order, chasing people down to pay, or wasting time trying to sort out who needs what. We'll set it up and you can just sit back and relax. We can even take care of individual shipping. To learn more about Pogo, visit us at any of our convenient locations or at pogo.undergroundshirts.com.
You want to say hi?
Hello, welcome back to MGoRadio 4.6, I think.
We have 4. Yep. So this is a song by Motorboat.
Motorboat, huh?
Yes, this is a New York City Hoboken band that sent us their music. And I looked on their site, and guess who's their drummer? Murder Wolf.
What?
Yes. Yep.
No.
Yep. I wish I don't have the link right here.
Like, is it like a nickname or?
Well, it's a guy who dresses up like a wolf, and he doesn't look quite like a wolf so much as a crazy Wolverine. It's not the same exact costume, but
that music doesn't
he's
really
always
sound
been there.
like music by Murder Wolf.
Well, drummers are always a different kind of person.
Yeah, I mean. Anyway, we should thank our sponsors. So.
We should thank our sponsors while we're here. We are here with Underground Printing, the Bow Store, where we are right now, Peak Wealth Management, Homeshore Lending, University of Michigan Alumni Association, Residence Inn Ann Arbor Downtown, Ann Arbor Elder Law, Human Element, Michigan Law Grad, and Lantana Hummus.
So Maryland football, everybody.
Yeah, they're
weird.
They're not bad anymore.
Well, except against Temple.
Where
they were terrible.
I kept on trying to scream into the ether when everyone was talking about ether. Yeah, I was screaming at everyone like their offensive line was all injured that game.
I feel like we need to shout out Ace whenever there's somebody who mispronounces something.
Well,
hey, Ace! There we go. We did it. Continue.
Ace. Well, there's some names on this team too that we could use him for.
What's the Fozzie guy?
Oh, shoot! Now I've forgotten again. Yeah, we got it. It's on Twitter, everybody.
So Maryland comes out. They beat Texas. They beat the brakes off Bowling Green. They lose to Temple 35-14, and their scores in that game are a blocked punt return and a pick six. They scored no points. They get outgained like 400 and change to 170. It makes no sense, and then they come back the next week and they absolutely obliterate Minnesota. So what do we make of the Maryland Terrapins?
Well, I mean, I watched the Texas game.
Sure, which is we watch the games where it's like, okay, this is why this team could be dangerous.
Right, and this game is a horrible, horrible. If we had any other options, I would have stopped watching this game because there was like a rain delay in the middle of it. It was in a pro stadium that had like no drainage, so they came back and they were playing in 4 inches of water.
Okay,
and
that seems that seems to be exaggerated.
It's not.
They were not playing in 4 inches of water.
How tall is the grass? And like how much drainage do they have underneath?
Do you have any idea how long an inch is?
Okay, fine.
4 inches of water is like this. The very visual podcast. So, anyway, moving on.
Anyway, so it was a very strange game, but I thought Maryland looked better than Texas. Texas did not look good at all in that game.
Win the game.
Well, I know, but like it was Bill C said they were like 70% chance to lose that game.
It's true.
So it was over a 5-point spread according to their.
Well, it was also it was a dead even game in yardage too. So
yeah,
I don't know. So the thing that really kind of leaps out when I did the preview is that last year Maryland was an abjectly bad run defense.
Yes,
they were terrible.
Yes,
and this year they come out and Texas doesn't get 4 yards to carry against them. And they've basically clunked the other 3 teams. And I don't know how sustainable that is. I don't know if any of these teams can run the ball at all. But
so they fixed a lot of the problems they had last year. Last year there was just a whole lot of like holes that they were covering for with their decent players.
On a DJ Durkin defense, you don't say.
Durkin's gone. Anyway, they filled that with a lot of transfers.
Well, so they get Jesse. Ace, we miss you.
Adibonum?
Sure, we're going to go with that.
Adibonum?
They get him back. He only played in 1 game last year.
Only played beginning of the Texas game.
He had like 9 sacks and 14 tackles for loss in 2016. And then they get Byron Cowart out of JUCO.
Right.
A former 5-star top 10 player in the country who just couldn't get his grades right at Auburn. And, he's not amazing quite yet, but you gave him a star.
Yeah, well, he looks like a 5-star defensive end.
Okay.
And he does speed to power, and we got a Nebonum working on the other side, and it's just
Nebonum.
A Nebonum.
No, that's not it. That's the Muppet version. Stop. No singing on the podcast. This is like the scene from Monty Python. There will be no. But everybody agrees with me.
Yes. All right, Byron Cowart. We're talking about Cowart, and I'm talking that he's fast for a guy his size.
He's 290.
Yeah, and he is, able to push an offensive tackle into the quarterback.
I mean, not saying that he's Rashawn Gary, but he's in that vein.
Right. He's Rashawn Gary without the grades, without the the things that make Rashawn Gary, yeah.
So you have these two guys who are your defensive ends, and that repairs a lot of issues.
Right.
But the guys inside are just kind of there.
So another transfer is Trey Watson, who was started at Illinois, who kind of got passed. Now, okay, now hear me out. Illinois is like one of those teams that has like good linebackers and nothing else. So but we're stealing from them. It's just that's like the one thing that Illinois does.
No, I can't.
Anyway, but so the guy is not actually. You know what they are? They're blitzball linebackers again. We're back to this again. Yeah.
So statistically, they don't look like a blitzball team at all.
They don't. But I was tracking it. I was kind of like watching to see like whether they every time there was run action, whether they stepped down or not. And I think I got 28 times when there was either a play action or just like down the middle run.
There's step down and then there's like
yes. So I
had Fisher.
Right. Well, I had take a ginger step, or were you just like firing off the first second that you saw anything that looks like a run?
Ginger step.
Yeah.
It was very delicate football. Delicate football.
That's what we believe in at MGO Blog. Delicate football. So, or really just like stepping back and yeah. And I don't know my stats in front of me, but I think total it was 15 out of those 28 times. Well, they were just firing off like crazy.
They've only given up one 20-yard run on the year.
Okay.
They've given up 11 10-yard runs, which is third in the conference. Michigan's given up 18. So, and like in the S&P stuff, I think they're like fourth in the country at preventing explosive runs. It looks like a bend, don't break run
So
defense.
tell me if you remember this from Durkin, the safeties play a little far back.
Yeah, but
so when something comes out, the safeties are there to kind of corral it. He's playing with too high a lot more this year.
Yeah, but not before not before 10 yards.
Well, no, they are.
This is
another one of their players is Andre Savage. That was
Andre Savage.
Yeah, he's
oh yeah.
Darnell. I'm sorry, it's Darnell. It's Darnell.
That's fine.
It's Darnell. Darnell Savage should be Andre. It's Andre in our hearts. Anyway, he's coming down, and he
his name was Randy.
Yeah, so he
I don't know if you know that. Because Andre was a different wrestler.
Well, I wasn't going with the wrestler, but yes, I know 80s wrestlers. Anyway, yeah, he likes to come down, and he looks like a Michigan State safety. Is actually the way I was describing him best. Like he's a little stiff, but like he just shows up as soon as you're running, and like there he is, and he's all around your legs, and yeah.
Okay.
One of those guys.
All around your legs, like a doily. Is that what you do with doilies? I don't know. I think you put them on tee or under tee. Under tee.
We're gonna have to get better at our ginger football.
Delicate ginger football.
Sweet.
Are we still talking about the defense?
Yeah. Well, okay. Is there anyone else you want to talk about on the? So one more.
Tino Ellis.
He's just a guy.
He's 7 pass breakups.
Well, because they're throwing at him, and not
he was
the
on
other
the
guy.
national team of the week after the Texas game.
For Pro Football Focus, or
yeah, which they got some issues, but
yeah. Did you see their list of like top safeties in the Big Ten?
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. From the tape, it looked like Marcus Lewis, who was an FSU transfer.
Okay.
Yeah, he's athletic and tall. He's actually pretty good against the run. And Texas started by throwing both sides and said, okay, we're just not throwing it at Lewis anymore. And that's, I think, why Ellis is getting all those pass breakups.
Ellis excelled. He got 5 of them against Minnesota, I should point out.
He plays. So Ellis was like playing in the parking lot in this game a lot.
All right.
And like that. So doesn't look like a Durkin team anymore.
Well, no, because he's not.
They're not playing cover one. They're not.
Their defense got a lot better. Shock.
Right, but the guy who took charge it's Matt Barnes. He used to be an analyst for Michigan. He's like followed Durkin everywhere, ready for Durkin to have a coaching job so he can move up.
Well,
so he was like their linebackers coach. Smart man. So
other side of the ball. Come on.
Yeah, we're moving on. Kasim Hill and Piggy are the quarterbacks. They're both back from last year after getting injured in the first 3 games.
And Hill's pretty bad.
Yeah, 50-50.
I mean, his completion percentage is 55%. and they throw a butt ton of screens. So that's a bad quarterback.
All right. I in this game he had a couple really nice passes and a couple passes where it's just like
he was fortunate not to be intercepted.
Yes. Yeah.
Several times on the same play.
Yeah, there was one.
Well, so I mean,
he can run though too.
He's got 19 yards.
Yeah, well,
once you take out sacks, even after you take out sacks, he's averaging a yard per carry.
So he's coming off an ACL injury, and he's got guards for offensive linemen. So there's not a lot of opportunity.
So hypothetically, he can run.
Well, I mean, there's a couple plays where he's got.
There is a universe in which he has more yards than.
There were a couple like 3rd and 8s that he picked up when.
Okay.
Yeah, there was nobody available, and he faked the guy out, and he got that. He's not. I gave him a 7 in the run category.
7? He's got a yard and a half per carry.
I wasn't looking at stats. I was looking at the film. That's what that film is. I look at the film, and then you kind of bring it into focus.
Bring it back into sanity.
Yeah. Here's what happened against Texas when it was 120 degrees. Yeah. And then they had a rainstorm. Anyway, and then Piggy is not as fast as he used to be, but
Piggy's a Wildcat quarterback, basically.
Yes.
And they throw it a little bit with him.
He can throw.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beat Texas last year.
Yeah. Beat Texas this year.
Well. Chipped in.
Yeah. So,
they still have their gnomes with jetpacks backfield.
Lots of them. They're all the receivers and running backs. Now you can't even tell the difference between a receiver and a running back. They're all on the same depth chart.
That's true. And they're all 5'9", except the guys who are 5'8".
Yeah. Well, so they brought in a couple freshmen who are 6'2", and one of them's I wouldn't give him a star at receiver. Okay. I wouldn't give him a star because he's a freshman and he makes some freshman mistakes still, but he's going to be good. And that's Jeshaun Jones. He had a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a catching touchdown in this game. So it was like a jet sweep where he threw the ball to the receiver. Yeah, so he had all 3 of those.
Okay.
Yeah, and everyone else is just a jet smurf, and none of them are DJ Moore. So Ty Johnson is still there.
Ty Jansen's still there?
Yeah, and
they have Anthony McFarland.
Yep.
Who's 5'8", but his photograph on 24/7 implies that he's 6'2" because he puts all of his hair on top of his head. I don't think that's going to fly in a helmet.
He flies.
He's a top 100 recruit, and at that speed, that size, you got to be pretty difficult to catch. This is not a good matchup for Maryland because Michigan has Devin Bush.
Right.
They have 2 hyper athletic defensive
ends.
Right.
This was a good matchup for Minnesota. That was the story of that game. Is it
what?
When they played Minnesota, these guys as soon as these guys were Ty Johnson or Anthony McFarland got in the open field,
Minnesota was a good matchup for them.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, Minnesota was the kind of team that they would like to play every week.
Well, their numbers are crazy on offense. So they are one of the worst teams in the country at getting a first down.
Yeah.
And then they're also one of the most explosive teams in the country.
Yep.
So they get all the yards or none of the yards, more than anyone else in the country.
So that's a good segue to bring up Matt Canada.
Yes.
Who is a very unique person in college football and direct descendant on the coaching tree from Bo.
And if you played Tecmo Super Bowl, he runs the Washington Redskins offense from that game.
Exactly. That's a very good pull.
Well,
yeah.
I played that game a lot, so...
So yes, for anyone who wasn't alive in the 1990s,
depressingly increasingly large percentage of the population,
right? That means a lot of jet motion.
There's motion and
motion in the other guy, and
they'll line up and then they'll line up again and they'll line up a third time and they'll send a guy in motion. They'll send that guy back. They'll send a third guy in motion. Somehow the play clock has stopped and all this, and there's
they'll rush up to the line and then spend 25 seconds just gooking around,
look to the sideline,
right?
Like they're writing out symbols in the dirt. And
there was one play in this game they got a false start because they got set, meant to bring the tight end around the other side, but because he moved and they were set, it was a false start, and all of Maryland was looking at the refs what do we do? What's the matter with that? They're a very, very motioning team, and part of that again, and they use a lot of tackle over and unbalanced formations as well.
So they're just trying to screw with your rules on defense, get you out of position, and then use a lightning smurf to exploit that.
And get the lightning smurf in space, right? They want him against your cornerback on the outside edge. And
so when Michigan gets it right, this is going to be a depressing, crushing blowout defensively for the Maryland Terrapins.
Yes.
And when they get it wrong, anything could happen.
Right. Again, Michigan is not the team that these guys want to play because they can match with speed for speed.
Yeah, and they're veterans.
Right.
Like they can hang with them, and if you want to throw slants, you can go ahead, Mr. 55%. Man, that is just asking for that guy to go off for 300 yards. I retract that entirely.
After this whole thing about being, So
I retracted it. You don't retract. You're just like, that guy sucks and I hate him. And I'm like, maybe we dial that back a little bit.
Their tight end sucks and I hate him.
All right, we're going to take a break. Come back, do a gimmicky top 5, and possibly discipline somebody.
The yearly cost for a nursing home averages $90,000. It doesn't have to, though. Reed McCarthy founded Ann Arbor Elder Law after handling a tricky situation for his own family. Years of experience later, his boutique firm works with clients across Southeast Michigan, dealing with Medicaid planning, long-term care, and tax, disability, and family law, not to mention family dynamics. If you have a family member who may need that level of care, or if you're ready to start your own estate plan, Reed can give you a plan for the future. Visit AnnArborElderLaw.com or call 734-945-9693. That's 734-945-9693.
Let me just tell you a couple things to keep in your mind while you're out there. When we take the field, we're going to win. We've got big goals. We've got big ideas. We've got to win this game, and there is no game on the remainder of our schedule more important than the one you're going down to the tunnel to play today. Now let's go. Let's go.
Underground Printing is proud to present the Bow Store. Visit us at our new location at 333 South Main or online at www.bow.team.
Is your online store sluggish, outdated, underperforming? You may be suffering from chronic crappy website disorder. 1 in 3 online stores built by your brother's friend's nephew currently suffers from chronic crappy website. But now, there's hope. Introducing Human Element. Huel has helped hundreds suffering from CCW to turn their online stores around, creating fast, secure, and engaging online experiences that turn visitors into customers and put products back at the top of their search engine game.
Before Huel, I had abandoned carts, browser errors, and poorly animated GIFs. Now, with Huel, I can focus on what I'm actually good at, running my business.
Jeffrey, would you be a deer and pull the Ferrari around?
Side effects may include increased traffic, customer conversions, better ROI, compliments, elation, and early retirement. Why live with the disappointment of chronic crappy website disorder? Speak to your Human Element consultant today to see if Huel is right for you.
If you need a place to stay in Ann Arbor and don't want to be stuck out by I-94, there's a new hotel downtown, and the owners, who should be well known to the Michigan community, have asked our help to get the word out. The Martin family, yes, that Martin family, recently opened the Residence Inn Ann Arbor downtown, just a block from Main Street and a short walk to Michigan Stadium. They're competitively priced and offer a free hot breakfast, free Wi-Fi, fully equipped kitchen in every suite, and an indoor pool. That's the Residence Inn Ann Arbor downtown.
The places you'll go may seem far from Ann Arbor. From San Francisco to St. Louis to Shanghai. But as members of the Alumni Association, we're never far. Because Michigan is more than a place. It's a mindset that connects us. For those who leave Michigan, but for whom Michigan never leaves, this is where you belong. The Alumni Association of the University of Michigan. Join today at umalumni.com.
Like, that is not a band that has Murder Wolf, the drummer. It's good. It's probably good, but like, it's just like
I was actually really digging this band.
Yeah.
Like this is the guy who sent this to me. He was like, "This is the song that like we play at the bars." That like
unless they're like an ironic like where we all have death metal names that we dress up in like little mariachi suits kind of band.
I think the pictures are probably from Halloween, and that was like the thing that they were doing that day. But I'm going with Murder Wolf plays drum for this band.
Speaking of Murder Wolf, how you doing, Reed?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
You have a very, like, I'm a werewolf beard.
I am. I was just thinking to myself, as I think this is my 4th year coming on the podcast, we're all getting a lot of gray in our beards. So we're starting to look like the murder wolf to some extent. Like every year, we just...
Reed, shut up.
I know.
But, I mean, that's good because you do run Ann Arbor Elder Law.
I do.
And we're qualifying, apparently.
Yeah, well, every year we're getting closer.
The Grim March to the Grave on the MGO podcast.
You're older than me.
Why are we... Anyway, if someone were to need your services, what situation would they be in?
So, well, I do wills and trusts and estate planning for people of any age, but my specialty...
Stop glaring at me. I don't have a will yet. I'm like, get it done.
Yeah. It all goes to your kids. It's more if you have any special situations as you get older, but who you want to manage it for your kids and who you want to be the guardian of your kids.
I kind of want to just like mail each one of my plates to a different random citizen.
Your plates?
Yeah, just like you get a dinner plate.
Oh.
Are you gonna sign
just
this?
as your personal property, or?
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, my wife will probably want them. Still, I'm just assuming.
Right.
I mean, she's not super into Michigan football, so she will live longer than I am going to.
Oh, of course.
Anyway,
that certainly helps.
Your business.
Increase your mortality risk is the last decade of Michigan fandom.
Your business.
Wasn't the 90s wonderful? Yeah, so I'm here in Ann Arbor, and AnnArborElderLaw.com is my website, and I specialize in particularly helping people qualify for Medicaid, long-term care planning. Nursing homes are expensive, as people hear from you every week on your podcast. I've had a number of people recite your read of my ad word for word to me over the years. I had a friend of mine call her husband on his cell phone, and he recited it over the phone to me, so I know it works.
That's bizarre. It's possible we should be charging more for our ads. How do you feel about that,
Reed? I already literally tried this week with him.
Okay. All right. Reed is here for our Gimmicky Top 5 segment, and because we were playing Maryland this week, the topic is things that are unimportant, but we have strong feelings about anyway.
You know, I suggested to Seth we go to Gimmicky Top 5 Illinois Rutgers prop bets, but he wanted nothing to do with that.
We made a decision. Like, you can.
They could have had a lot of fun with that. Anyway.
There was a precedent for Reed coming out here and doing a completely different Gimmicky Top 5.
There's a price to be able to like dictate the Gimmicky Top 5. We'll put that on the rate card.
Yes, exactly. Or not change the top 5 before you show up. Okay.
All right, Seth, you're number 5.
We should admit that the children's TV when we were little kids sucked.
Whoa. All
right, this was like the nadir of children's television.
Are you talking Muppet Babies?
No, I'm talking like Transformers, Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Super Friends, Silverhawk, My Little Pony. Yeah, She-Ra. So like
you can't say that on television.
There were rules about like just making.
I will vet for Double Dare. Double Dare was
that was for slightly older kids. Double Dare was like when my friend's older sister.
Double Dare and G.I. Joe are like the same demographic.
No, my friend and I watched G.I. Joe, and then we had to like give up the TV.
See, this is it. This is what
none
of us
older
sister fighting about it.
Yeah, yep. But like,
so would you rather be older and have watched Speed Racer, or younger and watched Power Rangers?
Well, no, Power Rangers, like, I was babysitting by the time Power Rangers.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What bookends of what we watched that was better?
So I watch shows with my kids now, and they're, like, educational and, like, slightly entertaining to me. And then I was like, I'm going to put on some of the stuff that I grew up with for you. And, like, 5 minutes into Super Friends, I'm like, this is terrible. So I put on Transformers. And then I'm like, this is awful. And then I put on the original Voltron, and I'm like, I can't believe I was into this.
So
it's just like a toy commercial.
The thing I like about those kind of things is the animation is like 3 frames a second.
Right. Yeah, He-Man looks pretty janky in retrospect.
Yeah, it was also like America discovering anime, so like we were trying to do it, but we weren't any good at it yet. So it was just like taking a still and like slowly panning up until you get to the top of Megatron.
This conversation reminds me of something, is that I don't want any older people like to tell me not to like raise my kid on YouTube, because like I know what I did when I was a child.
Right. Well, here's the thing about the YouTube is my children don't play games. They now go on and watch other people playing games. And I thought when I was a kid and I played video games, my dad hated them, I'd say, I'm never going to get angry about my kid playing video games, but now they just watch other people do it. And I found myself actually saying to my 8-year-old...
on Twitch?
On YouTube, yeah. Like playing Fortnite or playing Roblox or one of those.
That is mysterious.
And I found myself saying to my 8-year-old in a moment of frustration, when I was your age, we played our own damn video games. And then I was like, I'm officially a dad and I'm old.
That's something I've noticed is that like the first 2 years of my child's life, all the dad stuff I say is ironic and cool, like, oh, daddy stuff, and then like eventually like he's doing something and I say it seriously and I'm like, a Rubicon has been crossed.
You know, when this morning driving to school, when little Leroy Horde and Jared Bunch McCarthy in the back seat were fighting each other. They each found an ice scraper, and I found myself like the long ones with the brush on the end. These are 7 and 8-year-old boys. And they were hitting each other
with like the scraper, because that one could really do some damage.
No, it had
it
had the scraper on one end, and then it had the brush on the other, and they were whacking each other with them in the back seat of my car. And so, yeah, you're yelling constantly at children.
Yeah.
In a way that your dad did, and now you're...
it
gets unironic and just exhausting. All right.
Anyway, read your number 5.
So
we've not done this
okay.
Well,
and these are things that deeply held beliefs...
that are unimportant.
Unimportant.
Right.
I like the Star Wars prequels.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I do. I don't love them, but I like them more than probably anybody else.
No,
I mean, most people do. It's an iconoclastic.
Jar Jar. Nobody is ever gonna partake in your law firm again.
Okay, fair enough.
My number 5 is quote tweets that just say "wow." Like you quote tweet the thing and then you don't do anything, and now you're just stealing that guy's retweets and faves, and that's wrong. That's wrong. That guy
does that also include like the eyeballs thing and
and like the clapping and stuff. Like if you quote tweet something, your tweet's got to be at least 15 words. Period.
I'm not on Twitter.
Good for you.
Or Facebook.
Good for you.
I just look at pretty pictures on Instagram.
We're back to recommending you now.
You've got off the schneid. Seth, you're number 4.
Anakin should be 13 when we meet him, not a freaking little kid.
Did you really write that down?
Yes.
Are you serious?
I am very. This should have been. This was going to be my number 1, but I forwarded it just to not make this the whole thing we talk about, because I will talk about this.
I know.
For 2 hours.
You won't.
There should be. No, I'm not on this podcast, but you get me in a beer, and I will talk about this.
We'll never give you a beer. It's like the worst argument you ever made. Like, let's definitely not give Seth a beer.
Anyway, there should be like a love triangle, and that should be the reason that like Obi-Wan rejects Padme because
you are literally doing because that filibuster. That is literally what you are doing.
It's easier just to let it go, accept it, and just enjoy them for what they are.
No, because they could have been good. They could have been good, and then they would have to sell it to Disney, and now we just get here's your weekly Star Wars.
You are literally doing the.
If Patton Oswalt didn't do that, there would be an X-Men Star Wars crossover.
Episode 1 could have been good.
He ruined it by doing that. Disney would have done it.
Is that your number 4?
Number 4 is, I deeply believe that reality is a simulation specifically designed as an experiment to push Michigan fans to the breaking point.
I agree with that.
That seems important, though.
Oh, in the I mean, it doesn't matter anyway, whether it's a simulation or not. It doesn't matter. But
yeah, I think therefore I am. That's the answer to the brain of that theory.
I think that the world is a simulation. It would be big news.
I think
if someone proved it, it'd be like, well, that's notable.
I will give him that. Yeah, if the world is a simulation, I think there's a lot of it. We were probably in some kids NCAA. Alabama dynasty.
I actually think it's
that's actually fairly convincing.
And I mean, if you look at what we were brought up with, this 1980s and 90s Michigan team that just dominated everybody, and then we have to raise our children with what we've had the last 10 years. It's
my kid's just 2, so I'm still holding out hope that he won't.
My son has cried after every Ohio State game the last couple of years. And what do you tell your kid?
We had it better in the 90s. Suck it up.
Yeah.
My number 4 is that ribs should be sticky and have melted gelatin after being braised, and you should not smoke ribs because smoked ribs are worse than braised ribs. I know this makes me a barbecue heretic. I know that competition ribs need to have some chew on them. That's because people are wrong, mostly because they're from the South.
I tend to agree a little bit of smoke is okay. I think kind of going half and half. But if you smoke a rib, you have a good chance of drying it out instead of making it
And if you braise
delicious.
a rib, everything melts. You get the fall off the bone thing, and then what you do at the end is you put them on the grill for a little bit, and then you firm them up. And then they're wonderful.
I was really into smoking stuff. I still do like to smoke things outside on the green egg, but it takes so much time. It's really hard to.
Yeah.
It's a whole day.
Vincent Smith had one of my ribs, and he was like, "This is a really good rib." So there you go.
And he's had some good ribs.
And
time,
he's Vincent Smith. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, well, anyone who's been coached by Brady Hoke has had some ribs.
I don't trust Brady Hoke to pick out like good ribs though.
Is that because he's from Florida, Vincent Smith?
Oh yeah, well he's had some ribs in his time. I'm sure he's from Florida. Yeah, gotta get the ribs in. I lost my thing.
Your
but
list?
That's okay. Yeah,
it's on me anyway.
Yeah. Hey, Seth, you're number 3.
My number 3 is that Mace Windu should be the big bad of episode.
Are you serious? You are not. You are not serious. Give me your phone. I want to see this on your phone. Oh my God.
Like him having the power grab should be like what Jay. There's a story in these prequels.
You can't. They can't all be Star Wars.
They're not all Star Wars.
You could have had like.
There's no more Star Wars after this one. There's just those two.
I have no more Star Wars either.
Thank you. Read your number 3.
I'm going to say that everything's pizza. Hawaiian pizza, Chicago deep dish style pizza. If you call it pizza, it's pizza. I don't like to get into separating different kinds of pizza as being non-pizza.
I disagree. Because if there's no sauce, it's a flatbread.
You know, when I was in Italy studying abroad when I was in college, and what they called pizza doesn't have sauce a lot of times. It's like a piece of ham on a piece of bread. And it's pretty gross.
That's
it's not
called
great.
a sandwich.
That's what they call
Italian
street food.
Italian pizza is not pizza anymore.
Okay.
American pizza is
See,
pizza.
this is what I'm talking about.
And American pizza has some sort of sauce. It can be a white sauce. It can be a pesto. It can be a tomato sauce. But if it doesn't have a sauce.
But Hawaiian pizza. Well, okay.
And Hawaiian pizza is not pizza because it's a sin against humanity.
It's a sin against it. All right. And Chicago deep dish pizza?
That's fine. Yeah, I like it.
I like it all. I'll eat it all. It's okay.
Yeah, it's not.
Except, I'm getting old, so if I eat it, I have to take a nap for 4 hours afterwards.
Yeah. My number 3 is lily of the valley, which is a plant.
Oh, it gets everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And
you have to carve it out with a knife.
Yeah, it is like if you lose track of your lily of the valley, you will walk into a front yard and it's just everywhere, and then it takes you like weeks to pull it up, and you have to pull up these huge mats of roots, and you get them, and it's actually very satisfying to kill. You hold up the mat of roots, and there's dirt getting everywhere in your hair, on your son, and you just go, I did it. But yeah, it sucks.
It's poisonous too.
Is it?
Oh yeah, super poisonous.
I don't think it's that poisonous.
No, yeah, you're not allowed to let the dog eat it.
Yeah.
That was one of those.
Dogs can't eat anything.
The dogs will try to eat anything.
Can eat pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Dogs die if you give them chocolate or knives.
Not my dog. Apparently grapes. Grapes are bad.
Grapes,
Yeah.
knives.
That's why grape ice cream is illegal.
Because you can't feed it to the dog?
Because
That makes no
dogs
sense.
eat it, they die.
There's chocolate ice
My
cream.
kid gives my
chocolate isn't.
My kid gives my
poisonous
dog
stuff.
raisins all the time, and he's been fine. We try not to, we know that's wrong, but you cannot keep children with raisins and a dog in a house.
Google
that
grape
not
ice
happen.
cream. The Ben and Jerry's guy made grated ice cream, killed a dog, and they made it illegal. It's illegal in places. They can't make it.
It's like making it illegal to tackle a quarterback because 2 of them got injured.
Seth, you're number 2.
Michigan's blue is too light. They got to go back to that 90s Navy that they had.
They did.
No, they went darker. They haven't gone far enough. It's got to be midnight blue. Like that Woodson color that they had. And it's not. You look at the 2 jerseys from
I was going to criticize this, but I'm just glad it's not about Star Wars.
I'm done with Star Wars. There's no more Star Wars on my list.
How do you put 2? I don't know.
Midnight blue and Adidas yellow, right?
No, well... So Adidas got like the yellow right at the end when like Harbaugh was like, no, here's the color, and gave him the swatch, and like they turned it into like the right yellow.
2012.
And then Nike went back to their like slightly lighter yellow too, and they still have this kind of like lighter blue, and like it should be like this. It was the same blue for like 40 years.
This is like not important enough to be on the not important list, or too important to be on the not important list.
Yeah, well, shouting out Dr. Sapp because he agrees with me on this.
But at least it's not Star Wars. Seth.
Nope.
I mean,
nope, that's Reed.
You're number 2.
This might be too important, but I think that Dexter high school football may make it to the playoffs before Michigan football, because they are 4-2 this year, the Dreadnoughts, and threatening to go to the playoffs when they have won up until this year 2 games out of their last 54.
Jeez. Dexter getting it done.
Do we have any D1 recruits?
No.
No.
My number 2 is Pitchfork Reviews. Pitchfork is a indie-ish music review website. And the thing about a Pitchfork review is it's got to be in the sweet spot. And the sweet spot is above 6, but it's also below 8. When you get an album from 6 to 8, that can be a great album. Anything below 6, probably actually bad. Anything above 8, probably also bad.
Right.
Because it's just going to be like electronic twee-bop that some guy's like, oh, I've never heard anything like this before. And the reason that you haven't heard anything like it before, sir, is that it sucks.
Okay. I mean, I don't have strong opinions on music because I don't get to listen to anything new anymore.
Right, and you put 1 week on a podcast, and then we immediately...
Oh, my God, I still can't live
You are never going to live that down! We got complaints, and I was like, these complaints are correct.
From the Bare Naked Ladies?
Yes!
People didn't like the Bare Naked Ladies?
1 week?
Yeah, that's kind of...
Yeah.
It was a 97 reference.
That's
like,
no Brian Wilson.
It was a 97 hockey reference, and the hockey's supposed to be...
1 week is possibly
geeky.
the most annoying song of all time, which is not my number 1, but definitely could be.
No, it's the... What is it? Like the L on his forehead, whatever that's on at the beginning of Shrek.
Smash Mouth?
Smash Mouth?
Yes.
All-Star?
All-Star.
It is my... 1 week is my second favorite song that mentions the X-Files from 1997, though. With Bloodhound Gangs. You and Me Baby being number 1 or whatever that song was.
Yeah. Anyway, Seth, you're number 1.
Back to the Future 2 is the greatest movie ever made. And I got reasons, but I don't think you want to go into my movie reasons too much.
No, I mean, it's not about Star Wars, so we can, like, explore this.
All right. So it is like, it's the perfect sequel.
I mean, you didn't say, like, Happy Gilmore, so I'll allow it.
Right. Well, I mean, the way they make sequels always is they, like, take the same jokes.
It can't be the best movie of all time.
I'm sorry, I'm going to best sequel of all time.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with best sequel. It's
Yeah.
still up against, like, Godfather 2.
Yeah.
So, like, it's like, most sequels are, like, take the same...
Up against Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. Still. It's just like,
I mean, you're going against your previous list here, Seth. Anyway.
No, I didn't say that the reasons are great. The reasons are, like, most of the time sequels are just so cheap, right? Like, just take the same themes, take the same characters, same movies, change the setting into, like, a more epic setting. And
Right, and that's not at all what they did in Back to the Future 2.
But they make you think that that's what they're doing at the beginning. They're like, okay, we're just going to be the future. It's just the same exact story. Look, it's the same car chase. It's the same, oh, wait a minute, now we've got this MacGuffin, and we got to chase that into, like, this dark, horrible version of your reality where someone who is now president is in charge of the world.
It was very, very prescient.
Yes. Yes, I mean that's a perfect villain. He is literally the villain of our age now.
I will rep Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yeah, station.
And like Death becomes a character. He's hanging out in the bus, and he's like, "I made the Weeks." It's good.
It's the movie they should have made instead of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Well, you had to like get the characters set, but yeah, Bogus Journey.
The characters are set in 3 minutes. They're like they're dudes who's like. There's nothing more to those characters.
You
that
have
need to
not
be
understood the hidden depths of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Bogus Journey. Or
both of them.
Both of them.
Yeah.
They're both very good.
Thank you, Reed.
I enjoy both of them very much.
Reed, you're number 1.
I don't really like the Beatles.
Thank you.
I like the Rolling Stones better. If you gotta, I mean, Beatles is basically children's music, and I don't get it.
Wow.
And it's talking about submarines and walruses and onions and stuff and strawberries.
He's gonna do my will. That's good.
And you know.
Yeah, like is there a Beatles song that's like Paint It Black? Come on.
No. I mean,
Gimme Shelter? Come on.
Yeah.
No.
Or when the Stones go to their country phase and they're doing like Wild Horses and Honky Tonk Woman.
Yeah.
It's just better than
It is.
walruses and submarines.
Stones had balls.
And they showed them to you. They're like, here are the balls.
Right.
And they're still
There's our quote.
going. They're still going.
That's
Which
true.
is astounding because
Many Beatles have died.
There's like no blood in them. They're all drugs now.
Attrition.
7 to 10 of the Beatles have died. And how much more drugs did the Rolling Stones do, and they're still here?
Yeah.
There you go.
They're just preserved now. There's like
Yes,
there's
they're
it's not.
pickled.
Yeah.
My number 1 is that snaps on children's clothing are the devil.
Yes. But this matters.
Give me a zipper, or I will throw your clothing that you gave to me out. I'm not snapping 65 different snaps just to put my 1-year-old in a onesie or a
Cloth
pajamas or a diaper. Well, we have cloth diapers, but on the clothes, it's just like, what are we doing here? What are we even doing?
I hate snaps.
Snaps.
You're back to it again because you've got the second child. You're back to snapping again.
It's football season, so the wife is doing almost everything.
I think everything had elastic waist with my kids. We just bought sweatpants. They basically dress like a grad assistant for a football team for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried. So I'm not going to name the family member so it doesn't get back to them, but we had like a lecture.
It's always a good start to a sentence.
We got a lecture one time about using, because I'd like gotten rid of all the button ones and just kept all the zippers that we inherited from the last family who had kids the same size. So we and we were getting a lecture about it like that because like, oh no, you could zip the kid up and like really damage them. And I was like,
I have caught the child's skin in a zipper. He didn't like it, but he got over it.
It's going to happen.
And then once you do it for the first time, you're like, all right, that's right, I got to be careful about this.
Well, there's a reason. You get like a few years before their memory starts to like.
It's true.
to make your mistakes.
To do neglect and abuse.
Right. So like they're not going to remember who did it to them. They're just going to remember that like, oh, I shouldn't zip myself. But like I think that's a skill you need to learn because eventually you're going to be zipping your own things and you're going to have to learn to like pull it away from your body before you zip. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
All right, Reed. These are John U. Bacon level segments. I'll say it like that.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the Sklar brothers roasting of him on your podcast a couple weeks ago.
Well, they're I don't think they're actually going to be at the roast. There's a roast.
No, I know, but they did a little impromptu eyebrow roast and voice vote roast of him. That was great.
All right, Reed MacArthur, everybody
Thanks.
of Ann Arbor Elder Law. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks.
We don't have anything else, do we?
We forgot to do our Lantana read.
Well, we were busy. We had to talk about many important things. What has Lantana got stored up in their hummus?
Well, I tried a new one. It's the mango one.
The mango one.
Yeah.
The carrot sriracha is
that's his
on.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to even talk about that anymore
because like advertiser synergy right there. You know.
Yeah.
That is a straight to finger hummus situation where you do not need the carrot stick or the pita bread.
But they are really good with carrots. I know you're doubling up carrot, but like it's still.
Oh, yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. So this one, I was intrigued because the lid said great with tortilla chips. Makes sense. French toast.
What?
And naan.
What?
That's what it says on the and more. And
at that point, you've really covered all of the like dipping carbohydrates.
Right, you can
from front to back. What's more?
You can dip books in this too if you want to. But it is that good, so maybe you could just don't. And there's no kittens in it whatsoever.
Look for the striped lid. They're at Meijer, Bush's, Kroger, your local grocer, everywhere.
And I think we're gonna have the CEO on next week.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
We need to actually predict the Maryland game, do we not?
Yeah.
Give me a score.
I feel like we're gonna kick their tushes, so I don't want to get into it. I was about to say another word and I corrected myself. We're gonna kick their asses
too. Like you could say ass on Fox in like 1999.
All right, we're gonna kick their asses 40-14.
Reed.
42-17.
I got 30-11.
Sounds good. We're supposed to time this into the...
We didn't time it very well this time, guys!
As soon as the drums come in, that's when we're done.
Oh, well.